Hey, Will Terry back here again. Self-proclaimed ebook novice, ebook newbie, beginner. Okay, this is video number 2. The first one that I did on ebooks is right below this. So if you have any questions, if this video generates any questions, I would encourage you to watch that one first because you know, your question might already be answered. So invite friends that are interested maybe in publishing their own books to come on over and look at these videos and check them out. So if you know anything that I'm not giving out, I would love to hear your experiences. There's no books on this stuff. Okay, so the main thing that I want to answer today is Nicole Caldwell's question, and it was basically on how to format your book for a Nook reader, a Kindle, an iPhone, and all that. So that's kind of what I'm going to go through. Keep in mind, I am not a programmer. I'm not an expert on the files. What I can do is just share my experiences and kind of give you my thoughts on how to prepare your book and what I think is working for me right now, and then you can kind of take that information and go from there. Okay, I have a Nook reader here, and look at that, it happens to have Monkey and Croc on there. That's what every Nook should look like. There are good things and bad things about my experience with Monkey and Croc. Barnes & Noble, and this is kind of the sad thing about publishing on Barnes & Noble, is they haven't released what they call an SDK package, which is the software development kit for programmers, to make a Nook Kids book. And Nook Kids is kind of a trademark type of file, which is proprietary, and they're only giving the SDK software right now to large publishers. So people like me and probably you, we can't get our hands on it. The problem with not having that software is it doesn't allow us to access all the features that this device has, which is kind of like a gyro, like the iPhone. Here's the iPhone. Here's Monkey and Croc on. This is an older iPhone. When I rotate this screen, Monkey and Croc auto rotates. Okay. When I take my Nook here and I rotate it, nothing happens. It stays the same. And the reason it stays the same is, like I said, we don't have the right software to make the book work perfectly on this device. It still works, but it's not perfect. A reader is meant to be looked at vertically. So when you look at a text document, you flip pages kind of like this. Now when you flip that on ours, it's already rotated. So the viewer has to go, okay, I guess I'm supposed to look at it like this. And then instead of flipping pages across, that doesn't work. They have to flip the same way they would if it was rotated this way, flipping a page across like that. But they have to do it down, and the book still works, but it's less than ideal. Okay, one of the reasons why I offer my books for 99 cents is because they're not getting the full experience that they could get here. Also, I want to get positioning. There's a lot of a lot of reasons for that. But they're not getting the full. They're not getting call-outs with text. They're not getting small animations and things like that. They're not getting interactivity, sounds. They're getting a regular book. On the iPhone right here, like I said, it does auto-rotate. This is actually sold through Amazon, and I have a Kindle right here. But if I did know how to do it, guess what? You'd be able to see it on here. The Kindle has e-ink. Oh, maybe I need to turn it on down here. That might help. Let's see. Okay, here's Monkey and Croc on here. It's e-ink, it's black and white. Nobody's going to really want to buy it right now because it's they're color books, color children's books, and who wants to see them in black and white? The difference with the Kindle, it's e-ink, so it's not backlit like the Nook, but they are about the same size. Okay, let's see if you can see that. So you have to look at this in the light. The battery lasts about 30 times longer, and but this file that you can buy on Amazon, they have an app for that works on this iPhone. So right now, somebody can buy Monkey and Croc for their iPhone from Amazon. they can also get it from the iTunes store because I have an app there. So what I've decided to do for my ebooks for the time being is I'm making them, this is Pollywog the Frog, my newest one, and what I've decided to do basically is make vertical books. Okay, so they're one page, they don't have spreads. You got to kind of think of this device a little bit differently than a book. You know, a book is maybe this size, and then you open it and you have a double page spread, right? But on this book, if you don't have that software where you can actually, you know, show a spread horizontally, you know, maybe you have to do some workarounds. So one of the things I figured is people hold this device in their hands vertically when they navigate it. There are some buttons that come up right down here, some virtual buttons, and when you're reading, when you're holding this, everything works vertically, unless you have a book that auto rotates. Okay, so what I figured was I came up with a size that actually works so that you can still use these navigation buttons and it doesn't go over top the artwork. And that pixel size is 720 pixel, or excuse me, 750 pixels tall by 562 pixels across. Okay, and also that works so that you don't get any weird resizing. So that actually works really well at that size. Flipping through a little, there is no issue with rotating the book horizontally because you don't need to, because it works vertically. This would be a problem to try to translate a book that's already been published that relies on spread art. It really wouldn't work. This actually works for a book that's created just for this device. I am working on creating books perhaps that only work on the iPhone and iPad right now, because they do, if you make an app, which I'm going to talk about in just a little bit, you know, everything will work on that device. This one's a little frustrating, but because I like the Barnes & Noble Pub-It site so much and how easy it is to self-publish, you know, I thought I would throw these out there this way right now, and it's working. You know, I'm not getting any complaints. People like it, and they work. If you want to do a book that works horizontally on this device, you know, that's up to you. You're gonna have to make that decision. Do you want someone to open up your book and see it already rotated sideways? Right now, we just have not found a good workaround on Barnes & Noble, and that's my biggest criticism of their site. I think that they really should be releasing that software. Maybe even coming up with some sort of qualification, such as, you know, and I hope Barnes & Noble hears this, perhaps, you know, you've been published through a traditional publisher, so that you have a certain amount of quality to your work. I think that one of the reasons why they don't want to give that software out is they are worried that, you know, they'll have a lot of people publishing books that are not up to quality. I don't really know. I just don't know why we can't get a hold of that software. But all you really need are JPEGs to make the EPUB file. I cannot make that file myself. You need a program like Adobe InDesign, or you need, there's a freeware program, I believe, and it's called Calibre. A little more techy, a little bit harder to do. I have a friend that figured out how to do it on his own in InDesign, and he went online. Now, he is also a programmer type, but he doesn't. He said it was really pretty easy, and he figured that most people could, if they really wanted to, could go on the internet and figure out how to do it themselves. So it's not that hard. If it sounds like something that you do not want to do at all, something that is just, you know, like I'd rather just pay somebody, guess what? My brother-in-law has got a little tiny website up right now, and he is doing them. I believe he charges about $45 to do an EPUB file. That's a flat fee. He's not getting any commission on any of the sales. He just wants a flat fee. And then to do an EPUB file, and also for the Kindle, it's a Mobi file. Who knows what that is? I thought that was a songwriter. He'll do both for $65 or something like that. So do your own research, you know. But Adobe InDesign will work, and again, Calibre. It's C-A-L. I have it on my computer. I don't know why, because I can't make it myself. C-A-L-I-B-R-E. Okay, let's answer a few more questions. Hey, thanks, Rob. Rob Colvin's actually the guy who taught me how to paint, and it's cool that we're friends now. One of my teachers Sylvia says, how do we get an app made? So how do you get an app made? Okay. I worked with Julie Olson. She's an illustrator, great illustrator, and we partnered and we made the Monkey and Croc app service to hire someone from another part of the world. This programmer happened to be in Russia. You know, it costs money. I believe it cost about $900 to make that app. It's an expense that most people don't want to lay out. So there is no real easy way to do it. You have to get software. With iTunes also, you have to get ISBN numbers. ISBN numbers are pretty expensive. You can get 10 of them if you're willing to buy 10 for about $250. If you buy one, I believe it's over $100. So they're pretty expensive. You have to have an ISBN to publish on iTunes or iBooks. There's two different models here, and I kind of talked about this a little bit last week. On Barnes & Noble and Amazon and Google Books, you upload your book, you start in the back, and you try to work your way up through sales and through Facebooking, social networking, and all that. The more sales you get, the higher rank you are, the more people can find you, the more sales you get. iTunes, the exact opposite. It's like a talent show. They throw you out on the stage for the first week, and they let your app be seen by the world, because anybody who goes onto their store can look at the new apps, so they come up, they're visible. If the book isn't good, they'll die. If the book is good or the app is good, they'll do well. My feeling is this: you have to decide how much time you can afford to work on a project and not get paid, because in some ways you almost have to assume, I think, that you're not going to make that much money. That way you're not that disappointed if you don't. So let's take Barnes & Noble. My feeling is I'll spend a few weeks. We talked about this last week. And if the book doesn't sell, I'm only out 2 weeks. On the other hand, if I do those kinds of books for iTunes, I don't think that they'll do well, because I really believe that in order to get something to go viral, like if you look at YouTube videos that go viral, there has to be something amazingly provocative or creative, or there has to be something disturbing, unfortunately, or something amazingly artistic and creative. And so when you see a video like that, it has some sort of shock value, artistic value, creative value, you'll see that there are millions of views. And the reason is because when you see it, you go, oh my gosh, I know I got to send this to my list. And that's how iTunes is kind of working right now. If you do an app and it's not amazing and it's not creative and it's just average. I mean, let's say it's good, but it's not amazing. I have a feeling that it's probably going to die. If you make an app on iTunes that hits, you could become a millionaire from one app. Okay, thanks, Paulo. That was nice. John Garrett, very informative. Patty's got 2 books up right now, and so she's doing really good. Will Wilson says, am I going to be... Oh, he bought my book from the Illustrated section. That's Danny Jones's site. And am I going to be uploading more books there? And the answer is, I need to do that. I need to get my other books over there. I've just been so busy. I teach school. You know, I'm Mr. Mom a lot of times around here. I'm working on projects and stuff, and I absolutely just haven't gotten to it yet. But yes, her site is great, and she's selling books, and it's one of those things. I've got a list, you know, this long, and I'm only right here right now, so I need to do that. Okay, and he also asks about me giving interactivity to my books. And right now, things are so new that I want to try everything. So I don't want to just do one thing, because I feel like I could be missing out on something that might be working much better. So I do have plans to make apps that are more interactive, where things move and where a kid can interact with the book. I really see these are not books, you know, because things can move, and especially, you know, I actually ordered an iPad, which will be coming sometime next week. But you have to look at this as a window, not as a piece of paper. It really is a window, and things can happen up here, they can happen over here, they can happen over here and down here. And you know, you can even fall into this thing. You know, there could be perspective where you're looking down and you're moving what seemingly, you know, optically down into this device too. To ignore that is probably going to be a folly in some ways, because you know, other people aren't going to overlook that. So I want to experiment with some of those things. I'm just not ready to right this second, but I do have plans, do have a project that I am in the very beginning stages of. Jin says, do you know of any message boards or blogs where writers and illustrators can hook up to create ebooks? I'm getting so many of emails of people asking me to illustrate their books perhaps, or asking if I know any illustrators that want to illustrate their books, excuse me. Illustrators asking if I know of any authors that are looking for illustrators. So I thought what I'll do, and I'll just try this, if it might work, it might not, but write down, if you scroll down on my blog down at the bottom on this column over on the left side over here, I'm just going to let anybody who wants to send me an email, I'll just put your website there, and I'll put a list of illustrators and a list of authors. I won't have anything to do with it, but you guys can contact each other, and maybe some good things can come out of that, because some illustrators don't want to write, or they want to work with a professional author, and some authors don't want to illustrate, and so they're looking to work with illustrators. I've looked out there, and I'm not really seeing any message boards for that type of a thing. Jack is great. I love Jack. And so anyway, so then reading kids' books. I wish I knew your name, but I do know Mary Cole. And okay, so informative, helpful, and any tips on getting existing work into the ebook format? I downloaded Monkey and Croc on my iPhone. Okay, great. So I do know that you need to get permission. Like if you've got a book that's gone out of print, you got to make sure that you actually own the rights, if that's what you're talking about there. And also, you're going to need to contact the illustrator. If you're an author and you worked, or there was another illustrator that you worked with, they're going to have to agree to everything that you do together. So there's that. As far as getting them into a format to work on an ebook, you are going to have to work probably with a programmer, like perhaps my brother-in-law. He's not going to be able to format every book. There probably will be, and probably already is, companies that actually can get that software where they can develop for some of these devices. I know that there's a company out there called Fast Pencil that will take your books, but even when I talked to them, they even had some problems. They didn't have the software, that same software. So some companies that are established companies that are doing this can't get the software either. It's a brand new thing. It's a wild west right now, and it's really a mess in a lot of ways. And I'm doing workarounds. Right now I can make a video. I drag and drop clips and videos, and I can bring in a song, and I can bring in photos, and I can do all kinds of stuff, and I can output it, and it makes a beautiful video. And I can't make a book, an ebook myself. So I think that in the future, someone's going to put a piece of software out where you can drag and drop pictures, and then it'll have a place where you can put in text, and maybe even a place where you can put animated GIFs or some sort of little animations in there, so you can design your own ebook. I'm almost positive that's going to happen someday. But the problem is, we want to do it right now, and it's not available. So the short answer is I don't really have a good answer. If you have an existing book, the problem is it's probably not going to fit the format that well. But some books will, so you'll have to look at each one individually and see, is it a vertical book? If it is, that's probably better. And does it rely on looking at spreads? If every page functions individually as you work through the book, then it might work beautifully to just scan those pictures, and you could use a regular scanner, scan them at a higher DPI, and get them to look nice in Photoshop, and then output them in JPEGs. And then making an EPUB file would be pretty easy, either yourself or working with someone else. It's not amazingly easy. It can be done. Jeremy says, thanks so much for sharing this. So he's found a pretty good place for converting called Corona SDK. So I haven't even checked that out, which is great. So that's something I need to check out. So great questions, great information. Maybe someone will know how we can get eventually, or if some of the software is released, how we can get a hold of it so that we can solve some of these problems. I want to learn from you guys, but I'm just not finding information. When I go look for forums on the Puppet site for Barnes & Noble, which I posted a video for right down here, you should check that one out, on how to use the Barnes & Noble site. There's nothing out there. My sales were good today. My sales were bad today. My sales were bad today. My sales were good today. So we are a tiny little fraction of the ebook market right now, and we're alone. You know, we're out here, and Barnes & Noble's decided to really help out the big publishers so they can get their Curious Georges, and I love Curious George. I grew up with him as a kid, but doggone it, does Curious George need to be the #1 book all the time? You know, I mean, there are other books that we're creating that are good now, right? So that kind of bothers me. I really like Barnes & Noble, but on the other hand, that's kind of a pain that they're not releasing that software. So again, I'll do this as long as we're getting information flowing, and I'll make another video for next week. And until then, okay. So thanks a lot, and thanks for watching.